Welcome back to Nation of Glory. Today, we bring you a story that is not just about entertainment but about resilience, controversy, redemption, and the power of connecting with an audience. It's the story of Jimmy Kimmel, a man who has been a staple of American late-night television for years, and whose recent return from suspension has turned into one of the most emotional comebacks in Hollywood's recent history. This is a story that will remind you of why people tune in, why late-night television still matters, and why laughter, even in difficult times, can heal more than we realize. Jimmy Kimmel's journey to stardom wasn't one of overnight success. Born in Brooklyn, raised in Las Vegas, he didn't start his career in the limelight. Instead, he worked behind the scenes in radio, his wit and humor slowly carving him a space in a crowded industry. Over the years, he transitioned from radio to television, and by the early 2000s, Jimmy Kimmel Live became a cornerstone of ABC's late-night lineup. It wasn't just a talk show, it was a stage where celebrities let their guard down, where political satire met heartfelt tributes, and where comedy was often used to shine light on painful truths. But even the brightest stars face storms. Earlier this year, Kimmel was suspended from his show due to controversies that left the entertainment industry divided. For weeks, headlines filled the internet, speculations ran wild, and audiences wondered whether Jimmy's career had come to a sudden halt. In Hollywood, suspensions and scandals can sometimes mean the end of a career. The court of public opinion can be harsher than any official punishment. And for Jimmy, a man who had built a career on humor, honesty, and sometimes biting commentary, this was a defining test. During his absence, the late-night world felt different. Ratings fluctuated, fans debated endlessly on social media, and rival hosts either treaded lightly on the subject or used the opportunity to attract new viewers. But in all that noise, one thing became clear: audiences missed Jimmy Kimmel. They missed his voice, his perspective, and his unique way of making the serious seem bearable through laughter. Then came the announcement Jimmy Kimmel was returning. The anticipation leading up to his first show back was like the build-up to a Hollywood premiere. People tuned in not just to be entertained, but to see how he would address the elephant in the room. Would he apologize? Would he ignore it? Would he come back stronger or more careful? The night of his return became one of the most watched episodes of Jimmy Kimmel Live in years. As the opening monologue began, Jimmy didn't shy away from the controversy. Instead, he did what he has always done best: he tackled it head-on with honesty, humility, and yes, humor. He joked about his suspension, about the headlines, and even about the silence that had surrounded his absence. But woven through the laughter was something deeper: a man expressing gratitude for a second chance, for an audience that still believed in him, and for the platform that allowed him to do what he loved most. The emotional weight of that episode cannot be overstated. Fans around the world flooded social media with messages of support. Hollywood insiders, fellow comedians, and even former critics acknowledged the strength of his comeback. What was expected to be a risky return turned into a ratings triumph. Jimmy Kimmel Live didn't just survive the storm, it came back stronger than before. Why did this comeback resonate so deeply? Because at its heart, it wasn't just about a television show. It was about resilience. It was about how people stumble, how mistakes can be costly, and how redemption, when sought with sincerity, is still possible in a world quick to cancel. Jimmy's story is, in many ways, the story of every person who has ever faced criticism, who has ever had to pause and reflect, and who has dared to return stronger. Behind the cameras, the journey wasn't easy. Reports suggest that Jimmy used his time away to reflect on his career, his personal life, and the responsibility that comes with having a platform that reaches millions. The break wasn't just about suspension, it was about growth. When he returned, audiences didn't just see the same Jimmy Kimmel, they saw a man transformed by his experience, yet still carrying the charm, wit, and humor that made him a household name. The ratings spike following his return wasn't just a statistical win, it was symbolic. In a competitive late-night environment, where shows fight for every fraction of viewership, Jimmy's triumphant comeback proved something powerful: authenticity still wins. Audiences can forgive, they can embrace, and they can rally behind someone who speaks with sincerity, even when that sincerity is wrapped in comedy. Hollywood is no stranger to stories of downfall and redemption. For decades, stars have risen and fallen, sometimes to never return. But every now and then, a story like this comes along, a story that captures not just the glitz of the industry, but the raw humanity at its core. Jimmy Kimmel's return reminded everyone that Hollywood isn't just about lights and cameras, it's about people. People who make mistakes. People who grow. People who continue to entertain, despite their flaws. The late-night landscape itself has been evolving. With streaming platforms, YouTube highlights, and changing viewing habits, some wondered if traditional late-night television was losing its relevance. But Jimmy's comeback shattered that notion. Millions tuned in, proving that when the story is powerful enough, when the host is real enough, late-night television still has the power to unite people in front of their screens. As the weeks went on, after his return, ratings remained high, guests poured back onto the stage, and Jimmy continued to find a balance between comedy and commentary. His sketches, heartfelt monologues, and celebrity interviews regained the spark that made the show iconic. And more importantly, audiences stayed. What makes this story so emotionally powerful isn't just the drama of suspension and return, it's what it represents for anyone listening. It's proof that setbacks do not define the end of your journey. That silence can be broken. That audiences, friends, and even critics can give you another chance if you meet them with truth and humility. Hollywood, for all its glamour, is a mirror of life. It shows us the heights of fame, but it also reflects the vulnerability of human beings who happen to live in the spotlight. Jimmy Kimmel's return is one of those moments that will be remembered not for the controversy, but for the comeback. For the way he reminded the world that humor is healing, and that a laugh shared in hard times is more powerful than any headline. As we reflect on this moment, one can't help but think about what keeps audiences connected to Hollywood. It isn't just the fame, the red carpets, or the big blockbusters. It's the stories like Jimmy Kimmel's that remind us of our own journeys. Stories of falling, getting back up, and carrying on with renewed strength. This comeback story will live on not just as a highlight in Jimmy's career, but as a chapter in Hollywood history, showing us that even in a world full of lights, cameras, and scripts, the most powerful thing you can be is human. And so, as his laughter echoes once again through television screens across America, we are reminded that late-night comedy isn't just about jokes. It's about connection. It's about resilience. And it's about the courage to stand in front of millions, flaws and all, and simply say, "I'm back." Thank you for staying with us through this journey. Jimmy Kimmel's story is more than just Hollywood news, it's a human story. And that is why it matters. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Nation of Glory, where we bring you stories that inspire, stories that move, and stories that remind us of the humanity behind the spotlight.